call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for February 5th, 2024 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hingham?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout? Here. Mrs. Westfall? Here.
All 7 members of City Council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. We welcome our guests in the house. If you have any questions during the meeting, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you at the appropriate time for a question. With that, we invite you to join us for our Pledge of Allegiance, this meeting led by Mr. McCann.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are now up to agenda item 3, which is additions to the agenda. Law Director Brian has distributed ordinances for items 5A and 5B. We'll look at them when we get there. I have no other additions to the agenda. Mr. Fry,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
members of City Council. Hearing none. Mr. Sanford,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Aller,
Nothing, Mr.
or Ms. Bryant.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and our agenda is approved for this evening's meeting. Agenda item 4 is approval of the meeting minutes from our previous meeting on January the 16th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move adoption of the meeting minutes from the council meeting of January 16th, 2024 as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for the approval of the meeting minutes from January 16th as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and those meeting minutes are approved as submitted. All right, we're up to agenda item 5. I would like to invite Mr. Fry to give a report of the public hearings held this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The public hearings were held at 7 o'clock and 7:05 p.m. The initial public hearing, which was regarding ordinance number 96, 2023, was related to amending the municipal planning and zoning code for the addition of a special use for a wholesale bakery. And there were no opposition in attendance after having mailed to a number of residents and other entities with properties adjacent to those, to this particular parcel. So hearing no opposition, there was a motion and a second to ask the administration to prepare this ordinance 96, 2023 for our consideration this evening.
Any questions or comments concerning Mr. Fry's report? Hearing none, then let's move on to agenda item 5A. As a result of the public hearing and the input received this evening, you have distributed at your places the ordered legislation ordinance number 96, 2023, and this is to amend Part 11 of our Planning and Zoning Code to allow this special use permit. Mr. Hanum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move adoption of ordinance number 96-2023. All members of council having received copies, I will read by title only, amending Part 11, Planning and Zoning Code of the Sylvania Codified Ordinances, 1979, as amended by amending section 1101.01 definitions and by amending section 1153.02 special uses, and I move adoption of ordinance number 96-2023 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 96, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance number 96, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item 5B. You have in front of you an ordinance as ordered. It's ordinance number 13, 2024. This is to allow special use permit 2023 to be approved. Mr. Haynen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move adoption of ordinance number 13-2024. All members of council having received copies, I'll read by title only. Granting a special use permit to allow the operation of a wholesale bakery at 4815, 4821, and 4827 Holland Sylvania Road, Sylvania, Ohio, on the application of Timothy S. Burns, zoning administrator for the city of Sylvania, on the recommendation of the Municipal Planning Commission. And Mr. Mayor, I move adoption of ordinance number 13-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 13, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 13, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And best wishes of success. We look forward to your construction and the start of your operation on Holland, Sylvania. With that, we are on to agenda item 6. There is a proposal in front of you to hire an engineering consultant for the improvements at Erie Street and Monroe Street. Mr. Aller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received letters of interest from 2 engineering consultants. Tetra Tech, we reviewed, scored, and ranked those proposals, and Tetra Tech was selected as the most highly qualified consultant for the project. We then entered into services and fee negotiations with them, and have agreed with the proposal that we have in front of you in the amount of $474,500. This fee includes survey, construction plans, right-of-way plans, geotechnical engineering, public involvement, coordination, and landscape architecture and roundabout aesthetics. Tetra Tech is a certified consultant with ODOT. As the LPA, we are required to use pre-certified consultants, and we recommend moving forward with this contract in the amount of $474,500 with Tetra Tech, using the capital improvement fund, and this expense was in the 2024 capital improvement fund.
Thank you, Mr. Aller. Perhaps an overview of the schedule for the project and a description of the improvement is in order. Although all council members will be interested in this, there are 3 that live in subdivisions specifically affected by this.
The design that was selected as part of the preliminary engineering study is what's referred to as a dog bone or a bow tie type roundabout. It will eliminate the existing traffic signal that's at that 3-way confluence. Design will get started basically immediately in '24. We'll have some public meetings probably early '25, and then construction is scheduled for 2027. And that's part of that schedule is established based on the ODOT funding. So that construction is definitely in the fiscal year 2027.
And ODOT funding has been applied for and approved.
That's correct.
What portion of the project does it about pay for?
I believe this was an 80-20, and then we'll also receive additional fund. Well, we would apply for and hopefully receive additional funding from OPWC.
What final percentage would the cities?
About 10%.
About 10%. That's terrific. That's the numbers we like to hear.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question
Mr.
for
Frost.
Mr. Eller. Obviously, I'm one of those affected council members, as you well know. in reading this and our conversations in the past, and this is more for the public record, because I already know the answer to the question, so I just want to get on the public record. The bow tie is really two roundabouts that are right next to each other, with the thought process that someone coming east on Erie would have to go through both of those, and that would slow traffic down a little bit more than what just coming around the curve does currently. Is that correct, Mr. Aller?
Yeah, it would slow them down more so than what, just coming around the curve like they do now. And it would also have a greater impact than just having a single roundabout, making a quick loop, if you will, and being able to make the same turn that they make.
Okay. I knew from asking you before, but I wanted to get that on the record.
Well, another question then, Mr. Aller, of the bow tie, does that allow a person heading west on Monroe Street to turn through the center or between the two roundabouts to turn left into Sleepy Hollow without going clear to the western extent?
Yes, and actually there will be a left turn lane, a drop left turn lane, put into Monroe, for the westbound traffic.
Okay.
To get that traffic out of the through traffic that continues heading west, and allow that, it coordinates with the eastbound Monroe and the westbound traffic. Allows them to get it into their own island, if you will.
I've also had concerns expressed to me by residents of Sleepy Hollow that right now they're able to get out when the traffic light turns red for eastbound traffic. Will they still be able to get out all right?
Yes.
Is the question I'm receiving.
Yes. There will be, the morning traffic, is, in that area is always the high traffic time in that
More
area.
traffic coming in from the
Yeah.
west.
And that's, the bow tie helps, calm that traffic and slow that traffic down to allow for those windows for, the Sleepy Hollow, traffic to, exit out. It's gonna be very similar, I don't know if any of you have traveled, the McCord Road and Dorr Street area. But, 22 hours of the day, that thing flows and you get right through there pretty quick. But the early morning hours, and the late evening hours when you've got everybody going to and from work, it just backs up. And, it's with the bow tie effect, it will calm that traffic and make that go slower through there.
Actually, Mr. Eller, that's the intersection, that's the section of town that made me more comfortable that it would in fact slow traffic down, because I've been on that exit many times and it worked. In that regard, it seems to work.
All right.
Mr. Aller, the public involvement meetings, just to clarify, those will be similar to how we've handled them in the past, like an open house style, comment forums, questions and answers, things of that nature.
Yep. Yep. That'll be the method. Unsure of the dates on those. Those are still a little bit out there, but yeah, same format and the way we collect information. Yeah.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, you do have in your council packets ordinance number 6, 2024, to accept the proposal of Tetra Tech to provide consulting engineering services. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reading by title only, ordinance number 6, 2024, accepting the proposal of Tetra Tech to provide professional engineering services for the Erie Street, Monroe Street roundabout and resurfacing project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $474,500, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 6, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 6, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. It seems like we're going through these issues pretty fast, but I wanted you to know that I call on the committee chairman, whether it's zoning, which is Mr. Hanem's committee, or streets, which is Mr. Richardson's committee. They study these in advance. They have committee meetings in advance if necessary. So council oftentimes comes in ready to vote,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
certainly. We are up to agenda item number 7. This is for a police vehicle purchase. Chief Miller or Mr. Aller?
Yes, we're requesting authorization to purchase a used vehicle. It'll be for the non-road patrol. This won't be a road patrol unit, but be used for other issues. What we're proposing is a 2021 Chevrolet Colorado pickup. Dave White Chevrolet has it at their lot, and they've offered it at a price of $32,086. Vehicle be used for the pickup of oversized materials and equipment. We get bicycles, signs, several other things that don't fit easily into a trunk. They'll also be used for out-of-town training sessions when we've got multiple officers that need to go to training, and then also for the Volunteer and Explorer program. This vehicle will replace a 2007 Chevrolet Tahoe that we'll be discussing later on the agenda. And we recommend approval to purchase a 2021 Chevrolet Colorado from Dave White Chevrolet in the amount of $32,086. This purchase was in the 2024 capital improvement plan and will be purchased from the capital fund.
Mr. Aller, quick question in regards to is this gonna be badged with the city of Sylvania police vehicle? Or is that included in the price?
As far as,
So is it gonna have Sylvania police, or is it just
No.
gonna be like a city of Sylvania?
It'll be like our other unmarked, like the detective's cars.
Got it.
It'll be marked up, but it will have concealed lights so that we'll be able to use it for parades or special events if we need extra vehicles.
Okay,
Seems to me we used to have pickup trucks that were donated by auto dealers in
Yes.
town for the DARE program in specific. We no longer have access to that sort of a donation. So this is kind of taking place of that too. Only those were marked vehicles. Those were very clearly marked. This is an unmarked vehicle that can haul larger items as well.
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Aller or Chief Miller?
Audience.
Yes, sir. Come on up.
The Dare, is it a pickup truck?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that could be used. 32,000 sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like it's already allocated. Still a lot of money. I come from St. Paul, Minnesota, on the east side. It was rough, and I've always been very impressed by the scale of the force here in terms of vehicles. And I'm just wondering what alternatives there would be of maybe not purchasing a new vehicle. For licensure purposes, I had to get fingerprinted, and I asked to do that at your police station, and they told me that there would be a delay because they were delinquent on their fees for the fingerprinting sort of thing. And so I went to FedEx instead. And so anyway, I'm just wondering about if we already have a Dare pickup truck, could we maybe use that?
This is
No.
replacing it, that we used to have.
Oh, that one's
donated.
going on
Those
auction.
We no longer have that anymore.
no,
No,
That's
we
not
have
right.
a Dare pickup.
Okay.
It's marked up and it's part of the marked fleet. This would be the
Oh.
unmarked. That vehicle, because of some of the equipment it has to carry, is not capable of carrying some of the stuff without having to unload everything. So this would supplement and fill in that void that we have where if the road patrol needs to quickly recover a bicycle that someone has dumped somewhere, those don't always fit into the back of our caged vehicles when we have all the equipment already in there. So it's a way for us to get a dual purpose out of this, where I can use it as an unmarked vehicle to help supplement my detective bureau fleet. My administration, if we have to send someone to training, we can send it out of town. So it's a way for us to get multiple uses out of it instead of with just the DARE vehicle that we have already with equipped and not able to easily use at the drop when we need something.
This is a 2021 vehicle.
Correct, so it's not-
replacing a 2007 vehicle.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not new, it's a used vehicle, and it is replacing a 2007 vehicle.
Thank you.
And your other issue about a missed payment, I know that came back across my desk. Can you give us a report on that, Chief?
There was a problem down in Columbus with the billing process, and they did not bill us for September. And they didn't catch on to it until December, and instead of letting us know that it wasn't billed, they just turned our services off. So when we called them, we're like, well, we paid October, we paid November, and we paid December, but because September was missed, and that was remedied within that week. So, and that day, in fact, they turned us back on, realizing that there was an issue. So those were sent out as soon as we had services back.
Thank you. Mr. Fry, we have in front of us ordinance 7, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 7, 2024, and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Dave White Chevrolet for the purchase of one used 2021 Chevrolet Colorado pickup truck for the police division, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $32,086. I move passage of ordinance number 7, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 7, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 7, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item 8. We have in front of you ordinance 8, 2024. This is for the levying a special assessment for abatement of a public nuisance. Ms. Brining.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council probably recalls, back in November, we came to you to request authorization to spend $10,500 to demolish a house on Delbrook Drive that the fire chief and the chief building official of Lucas County all deemed was a nuisance. And that process has taken place. We've got the final cost of the demolition, which includes permits to kill the sanitary sewer and water, and also the demolition permit. So that brings the total to $11,025. By passing this legislation, we can put this on a tax bill so that hopefully when the house is sold, we will get the city's money back. But in the meantime, we've been able to remedy an unsafe structure in the city.
You said house, when you mean when the
Yes.
property is sold.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, the house,
Okay.
the house will not be able to be sold. Yes. Thank you.
So the city will be reimbursed for this correction of this
Yes.
nuisance on Delbrook.
And did we never heard from,
You know what she did? I did send her a certified letter with a copy of the ordinance, and she did pick that up. She signed for it at her address in Florida, but never reached out, never heard from her. So at least that made me feel better that she did know that it was happening. Just chose not to be involved when it probably thought it was easier for us to, so.
okay,
This is abatement of a public nuisance. Mr. Hayes, do you want to read this one?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move adoption of ordinance number 8-2024. All members of council having received copies in advance, I'll read by title only. Levying a special assessment for the abatement of a public nuisance located at 5647 Delbrook Drive in the city of Sylvania, Ohio, in the amount of $11,025. And, Mr. Mayor, I move adoption of ordinance number 8-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 8, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 8, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure.
Mr. Mayor, I'll note that the neighbors will be very happy about this. This is not something we take lightly. And we have done it during my time on council. Maybe only 2 of the
Very few times.
Yeah, this is nothing that we take lightly, but this one, unfortunately, I know we made a lot of efforts to try and remedy this, but it is truly a nuisance, and it's unfair to the neighbors to not address this.
Thank you. Agenda item 9 has to do with improvements to Oakland Court. Oakland Court is the cul-de-sac immediately across from Flower Hospital. Has the original concrete streets that were installed back in the 1960s. We have improved the concrete streets at least once during my administration by tearing out and replacing them. We have the opportunity now to tear out and replace the whole street and upgrade it because Mr. Aller has been able to tie it together with improvements on Main Street and get some of it funded through grant. Mr. Aller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 29th, we received 7 bids. This was a popular project. Salem Beam Trucking Excavating out of Dundee, Michigan was the low bid at $417,305.75. That bid was about 24% underneath the engineer's estimate. So if you remember a couple construction seasons ago, coming underneath the engineer's estimate is welcome words from the last couple of years. So Salem Beam Trucking has performed work for us in the past on a couple different projects. They have performed well. They've done work for several other municipal type projects, and will be able to handle this project very well, we believe. We recommend moving forward with the contract with Salem Beam Trucking and Excavating in the amount of $417,305.75. And this project was also included in the 2024 capital improvement plan, and will be paid out of the capital fund.
Construction cannot begin until after July 1st when the grant funds become available. That's the grant rules.
So the timing on this then, after that?
Yeah, they plan on getting it in there right after July 1. This does have OPWC funds, as the mayor referred to, and we'll get that agreement on or about July 1st. It'll take a couple days for signatures and that, and they'll be prepared to move in right away. There's a project they wanted. They told us when they picked up plans that they were going to come at it. That fit right into their schedule between a couple other projects that they had. So we're getting approximately, I think this project is a 39% OPWC grant. So we'll be paying 61% of this cost.
It also includes replacement of the water line on the north side of the street.
That's correct.
All right, you have in front of you ordinance number 9, 2024, to accept this contract for construction. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 9, 2024, accepting the bid of Salem Beam Trucking and Excavating, Inc., and awarding the contract for the Oakland Court Improvement Project to same, authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $417,305.75, appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 9, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 9, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. And Mr. Aller, looking at the ordinance itself, I drew a line between Ohio Excavating and Geddes Paving. All but that one bid were under the engineer's estimates. Now, I know the estimates may have gone up, but prices have softened. There's just no doubt about it.
Yep. We are seeing it, we're hearing it around with other cities in that too, the prices are starting to stabilize.
All right, turning to page 2 of our agenda, we're up to agenda item 10. This is another project bid at the same time and funded with the same grant application. This is the Main Street Reconstruction Project. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this project, we received 2 bids. On the same day, they were bid back to back with the Oakland Court project. The lowest bid on this project was submitted by Geddes Paving and Excavating out of Toledo, Ohio, with a bid of $1,057,497.40. That bid was approximately 1% over the engineer's estimate, so not quite as good of a bid as the other project, but both bids were quite close to each other, so we feel that we have a good contract to move forward. Geddes Paving and Excavating has performed work for the city in the past. It's been a few years, but they're a well-known contractor and they've done a lot of work in the area, so we're comfortable with them doing the work. If you remember not too long ago, about a month ago, close to that, they were also awarded the Balfour Road water line improvements project, and so their trucks will be in town quite a bit this upcoming year. It is our recommendation to move forward with them, to award the contract to Geddes Paving and Excavating in the amount of $1,057,497.40. This project was also included in the capital improvement fund and will be paid out of that account.
This project is not just pavement replacement. This one has improvements to the sanitary sewer system underneath that part of Main Street.
That is there will be work underneath that part of Main Street, but that's a separate contract. That's large diameter phase 3 that we awarded right at the end of 2023. So that work needs to take place before this one begins. And as the same thing with Oakland Court, where that work cannot begin until after July 1. That's the same schedule for this project here.
Unlike Oakland Court, which will affect the residents, this one affects a lot of people in the city of Sylvania going up and down Main Street. Any idea of the duration, and will traffic be maintained?
We will have traffic maintained in one direction through the project, and with the Main Street, it's not possible to keep full traffic open, but we'll have traffic maintained in one direction.
And you are in communication with St. Joseph Parish about this? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
question for Mr. Aller, leaning on your expertise. When we look at, there were 2 bidders on this project, and these 2 bidders were 2 of the highest bidders on the previous project. Just curious, what makes one project attractive where we get 7 bids and this one maybe not as attractive as 22?
The first thing on the Main Street project is you have to be ODOT certified to bid on the project because of the ODOT funding that's available. Some contractors just choose not to go through that. It's as cumbersome as it is for us to manage ODOT projects, it's just as cumbersome on contractors to be the contractor on ODOT projects. So some contractors just choose not to go through it. That cumbersome things that they have to deal with, that adds costs. And some of the things that you have to do on an ODOT project, you may not necessarily have to do in one of our streets that we design ourselves. So that's kind of where it's at. You do limit the field when you have an ODOT funded project with certification.
Mr. Eller, I have a quick question. Could you refresh my memory on when you think this project will start?
This one will start at about July, mid-July, mid to late July probably, by the time they get started up.
And also the scope from which street to which street?
It'll be curb to curb, and it'll go from 10 Mile Creek to Convent.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. McCann, when is Festorama?
Third week in May.
Third weekend when?
May.
So this will not affect Festorama?
Correct.
That would be a
That
really
would-
difficult.
That's another reason why I was asking.
All right. Any further questions about ordinance 10, 2024? Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 10, 2024 by title only, accepting the bid of Dennis Paving and Excavating, Inc., and awarding the contract for the Main Street reconstruction project same, authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $1,057,497.40. Appropriating funds therefore, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 10, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 10, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you. We are now up to agenda item 11. This is concerning becoming certified autism center designation for our police department. Mr. Sanford.
I'll come over here, Mayor, so I'm not looking at, I can see everybody. Thank you. This was a topic that was brought to our attention to become certified as a city in 2023. We decided to put it off until 2024 so we could also do some homework. And it is included in our budget if we do decide to move this forward. What this is really about is that the training that we will go through, that's what we pay for, will ensure that our employees will have the knowledge and skills to better understand and then are able to communicate with autistic individuals. We're seeing more and more communities taking this on. The primary people, they're looking for employees that are face-to-face with the public. So our primary, and what you see in most communities, would be the safety forces. So the police are going to be the big part of that number that we have, but we also want to have the people in the administration building be trained. Training, for the most part, will be similar to what Chuck puts us through for IT training. You can do it right at your computer. There's exercises that you go through and then a test that you have to take to show that you understand the material. And that's where that 80% comes in, to show that pass it, and then you can become certified of the people that go through. Our chamber is certified. I'll be the staff person that'll monitor this to make sure we do it with the amount of time and people. The International Board of Credentialing has been very good to work with to date. So I'm asking today for approval of this ordinance 11, 2024. Are there any questions?
Are there other communities in our area that are participating in this?
I'm sorry?
Are there other communities in our area that are participating in this?
Not, I think there's departments in different cities. There's not a lot of cities around here, Mrs. Westfall, but there's, it's a move in the greater Toledo area in some of the tourism industries to show that this is a place where you can use an attraction. Like a lot of the chambers are doing it, and then showing that our safety forces, it's another positive sign that we can put on our website that we have the certification, and that's where you see it popping up in different communities. I think this is something you're just going to see more of.
You said that there's webinar training essentially, that at your desk on your computer. Is there a certain number of hours? Like how much time does the training take?
They told me it's about a half hour.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a time consuming. There might be some more time for some of the supervisors, but for the majority of the people, it's about a half hour training session that they go through.
Do you know if there's any kind of a autism society in our area, and do they support this program, and are they familiar with it?
I do not have direct knowledge of that, but I think there is support. Just what the chamber's gone through, they've gotten some positive feedback of what they've gone through locally by being certified.
Any further questions from members of council?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment, if I may.
Yes.
First of all, Mr. Sanford, thanks for working on this. I know that this is something that we had talked about, and I know you had some conversation with Mr. Hanson about it as well. So, having a daughter that has autism, that training, although I'm sure many of our officers would do a great job regardless, because they have that sensitivity and recognize that not everybody perceives the world in the exact same way. Having others in our administration and having a little ongoing training, I think is a good thing for our officers as well. So I appreciate the effort you've put forward in working with the rest of the administration in regards to getting this, and it's for the purposes of this, it seems like a reasonable sum of money.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think this is exactly the kind of community we want to be. And I commend you for locating this and bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hanson gets a lot of the credit for bringing this forward, and I invite Mr. Hanson to read ordinance 11, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 11-2024, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of the International Board of Credentialing and Continuing Education Standards to provide training to city employees in order to designate the city of Sylvania a certified autism center, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $5,190. I move for passage of ordinance number 11-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 11, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 11, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Mr. Sanford, any idea when this will take, when we'll start the training?
Pretty quick. I told them, and they give us, I think, 90 days, and I want to roll it out. There'll be an email sent to all the participants. I'll work with the chief to the best way to communicate to all the officers, but be sometime this month it'll start, and I will give updates to the council when we get toward the end and see if we are able to get certified. But I'm optimistic we'll be able to meet that.
Excuse me, can I ask a quick question?
Mrs. Westfall?
Training, is it a per person fee?
Yes, that's what it's based on.
Okay, I just wondered if council members, if it's a half an hour, council members had a chance to see it at all.
Just the, what's on
Just the
the ordinance.
information
Yep.
that you gave to us, okay.
I'm not sure I heard that.
I'm just curious if council members, for a half an hour training, I'm just curious. if
Yeah, I
there's
would
a-
love to have the
Yeah,
opportunity
but it's
to
a-
get trained
Per
as well.
unit cost, so,
Is that covered
I
in the
think
cost?
we might have enough spots, and I did ask that, and it's, they said they have not had other councils, but they said they'd welcome it, so we could all be trained. If you're interested, we could pursue that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that.
Thank you.
All right, we are up to agenda item 12, which is proposed ordinance 12, 2024. This is to enter in a contract for suburban court services. Ms. Bryant?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an agreement that we've had with Lucas County since 1997 to provide a victim's advocate for anyone who, any victim of a crime that is handled by our prosecutor's office. We've been very fortunate to have Erica be our victim's advocate for the entire time I've been here, since 97, and she does a fantastic job. I get nothing but compliments for her, and I just think for $25,000, we couldn't have, we get a lot of bang for our buck, and it's a great program to be involved in, and she provides a lot of information and help and assistance to victims of all the crimes that go through our court. Just explaining the process, and She just provides a lot of information, and she's always available to them, so I would recommend approval.
Any questions for Ms. Brining? You have ordinance number 12, 2024. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 12, 2024, and read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city of Sylvania between the city of Sylvania and the Board of Lucas County Commissioners for the Suburban Court Services Program, agreeing to participate in a funding a portion of the local share for suburban court services, appropriating $25,000. Therefore, I move passage of ordinance number 12, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 12, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 12, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 13 is for a resurfacing project at McCord Road from Sylvania Avenue North to Brent. Mr. Aller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is just a standard resurfacing project, a mill and fill. We'll mill it about 2 inches off and then replace it with new asphalt. The estimated construction cost is $706,874. We have a grant in the amount of $159,047 from OPWC and a $500,000 grant through the Surface Transportation Block grant program with ODOT. That leaves us with our anticipated local share will be about $47,827. We also paid for the engineering for this project with STBG type projects. The engineering is on the local public agency, the LPA. So we've also paid for that in order to meet our 10% requirement with the OPWC grant program. This was included in the 2024 capital improvement plan and will be paid for those funds. We look to advertise for bids on about February 26th and then open them on March 18th. And then schedule to take place during the summer months so that we're not impacting LaPorte Junior High during the school year. So we ask that the clerk of council be authorized to advertise bids.
Any questions for Mr. Aller? This is a very good percentage of local funds being leveraged to get the job done. All right, we need a motion from city council authorizing the clerk to advertise for bids.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the clerk to advertise for bids for this project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry, Patrick.
And it's authorized.
Jumped the gun.
Thank you. On to agenda item 14. We talked earlier about a 2007 Chevy Tahoe to be sold. It's being replaced by that 2021 pickup truck. We have a memo from the safety director recommending that we list this on Gov Deals. Questions? We've been pretty successful on the Gov Deals.
It's been quite surprising sometimes what we get on there, yes.
I know we've had vehicles in front of City Hall on several days carrying old computers out of the building that were sitting there, and now on Gov Deals, we found a way to, they're sold and gone. Okay, very good. All right, we do need a motion to offer this on Gov Deals. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to authorize the administration to place this 2007 Chevy Tahoe from Mr. Aller's memo on the 5th of February to Gov Deals for bidding and potential sale, as it's an obsolete equipment for the city.
Second. It's So moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Up to agenda item 15, are there any committee reports to be made at this time? Or agenda item 16, committee referrals? Hearing none, I draw your attention to information item A. These are two additional fourth quarter management reports from the Division of Taxation and Division of Vehicle Maintenance to add to the ones that you received in other quarterly reports. If there's no other business at this time, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and our meeting for this evening is adjourned. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 20th. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow at 7:30 PM in these council chambers. Thank you all for attending.